What's up, everybody? It is Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome back to Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game 6, where today we're going to be playing custom rendition of the 2023 Indianapolis Supercross track in the game, and talking about the real-life Indianapolis Supercross that happened over the weekend. And we are also playing as a little bit of like a custom version here of Ken Roczen, as you can tell. People might ask, like, oh, how did he do that? Well, the only thing that I did that was like a little bit sneaky was I'm playing on the PC, and you can, through the codes of the game, kind of change the rider number. So that's why I'm able to choose 94. But everything else is just stuff that you can do in the game. Like, this is the Suzuki model with I think like a Backyard Designs livery on it, and then the Fox gear that's in the game, and a Fox helmet and all this stuff like that. So you two could basically do this exact same setup except for the number thing. So yeah, that's just a quick synopsis of how I pulled this together. But of course I'm riding as Ken Roczen, because why else would we not talk about Ken Roczen winning the Indianapolis Supercross? Unbelievable. I still can't even believe it. We were there in real life, obviously watching the race, and just watching the race unfold and seeing it happen the way that it did. It's still kind of hard to imagine that it happened the way that it did, I guess, in some regard. It's really cool to see Kenny back in the winner's circle. It was really cool to see how much it meant to him, how much it meant to the team. Got a chance to catch up with him after the race a little bit and talk about it. And, he was basically explaining how much that people were doubting him and how much people thought it was a stupid move for him to go to Suzuki. But he was also, like, really, really stoked for how much this is going to mean for the team, because HEP Suzuki, like, they've only been around for basically 6 years, and to now have the caliber of rider that they do with Ken Roczen and win a main event. And I mean, just everybody was so excited, from Larry Brooks to Travis Soules, Kenny's mechanic, to the team owner Dustin Pipes. Like, everybody just seemed really just genuinely happy. I've never seen so many people hug a rider, aside from maybe Andrew Short's win in 2012 at Seattle. Roczen got a ton of hugs, not just from his team, but other riders on the track. Right after the race was over, obviously, Barsha came up and hugged him, but I think AP came up and hugged him while he was in the corner still. Then he went over the start straight and laid the bike down and celebrated with the crowd. And then, I mean, I never would have expected Jason Anderson to be a guy that comes up and hugs Ken Roczen, but he did. Adam Cianciarulo, obviously his teammate Shane McElrath and Kyle Chisholm were there too. Like, just so many hugs all around. I think you could tell that a lot of people kind of knew, I feel like, from a racing standpoint, how much Kenny has been dealing with in terms of backlash for this move and leaving Honda and everything that went through with that whole situation. So, Kenny himself was obviously very, open about the amount of backlash he's gotten. But I think everyone else in the paddock also kind of knows, hey, man, he's been kind of thrown through the ringer for making this decision, and it's now proven to have paid off. He did get a win with Honda last year, but he was not himself after that first round victory at Anaheim, and I don't even think he hit the podium again the rest of the season or something like that. It was just not a good year. So to find his stride, I guess, almost with Suzuki at the halfway point of this season is pretty remarkable, because it's not something that Roczen's really known for. He's usually that, hot start type of guy that fades off a little bit in the season, but he's put in so much work to make this bike better, testing a lot. Finally said a couple weeks ago that he's got the bike where he's happy enough with it to just ride it now. Still wants to make some changes, but he's happy enough to just kind of put the laps in and not think too much about it. So, that's a positive development for him, but still just putting in so much work to make it comfortable and get him in a spot where he's happy and can ride it to this level was just really, really cool to see. So I was overjoyed for Kenny to win this race. I was blown away how much the fans were receptive of it, because they have been very harsh about Kenny's move this year, I feel like. But the stadium was going unbelievably nuts as Barsha and Roczen are battling for the win on the last lap. And you can tell that the fans were genuinely cheering for Roczen to win too, because when it was finally showed that he was going to win the main event as he rolled through the last corner and Barsha wasn't close enough to try to make a pass back, like, the crowd got really loud as he crossed the finish line. And then, of course, he celebrated on the start straight, and people were just going nuts. It was a truly, I think, special night of Supercross, because to me, it felt a little bit similar to some of Chad Reed's wins that he had, like, I think back to 2013 Anaheim 2, I think it was, or maybe it was 2014, where he came up and he passed Dunge and Villapoto and Stewart. who else? He passed a couple other guys to win that race. Roczen, another guy that I think he passed. So, the crowd went nuts for Reed winning that night, and I felt like it was a similar vibe to Roczen winning here in Indianapolis. It was really, really cool experience for sure, and awesome to see Kenny back on the top step. I mean, Barsha rode a great main event as well, arguably the fastest ride on the track. Most of the main event had the whoops fairly dialed while everyone was going through that like middle V line. Barsha was blitzing almost the entire night, which was pretty remarkable as well because those whoops were brutal. So to be able to blitz them for as long as he did was pretty special. Cooper Webb finishes third in the main event, takes over the championship lead. Now up by 1 point over Eli Tomac. And boy, oh boy, this championship just keeps on giving. I felt like after Eli won Daytona that we're almost going to start to see a bit of a, I don't know, like a flipped switch for Eli where, yes, he had already won 5 of the first 8 rounds of the year and it looked like everything was going swimmingly, but he didn't have a huge championship lead. So to win Daytona, start off the second half of the season going in the right direction, things like that, I really thought that it was going to be hard for Webb or Sexton to like start clawing back against Tomac, but then Tomac had an awful main event, and I've had a lot of people hit me up about like what was wrong, was he sick, is there anything that you can point to? I didn't get a chance to talk to Eli after the race because as with most of those top guys, they tend to just immediately pack up and leave right after the race is over, so he wasn't around, as were most people. It was a very cold night. It started snowing in Indianapolis in the middle of the night as well, so a lot of guys were out of there, but Eli did say in the team press release that he genuinely just didn't find comfort in the track or with his bike setup all day long and struggled to figure out, what was going on or what felt good or bad about the bike. So because of that, he was just looking to, wash this one away and get ready for Detroit next week, which is a race that he won last year, the Detroit Supercross after a crazy main event. So I don't think that this is anything along the lines of like we need to panic and what's going on with Eli, is he hurt, etc., etc. I think it was just, I hate to say it, but kind of a weirdo race, which Eli Tomac has been known to do over his career, where you just are like, okay, and he's just in 8th, and that's exactly what this one is. Like, he started back there. It wasn't a great start to his main event. I think he was like 14th in the first corner, 11th at the end of the first lap. So it wasn't the best start or anything like that, but he also didn't really go forward. At one point, he was looking to be on the charge. He had dropped, he passed somebody, I can't remember. I think he actually did pass Craig, or it was somebody like that, and dropped them and caught Adam Cianciarulo and Jason Anderson, who were battling for 5th at the time, pretty quickly. But by the time he got to the back tire of AC, I don't know like if he had stalled out or if he hit a wall or if he started struggling with the conditions of the track again, which were ever changing, or what it was. I really don't know, but he just kind of stalled out. And AC, who has had almost no time on the bike over the last 3 weeks, has been dealing with a wrist injury, only rode once this week on Wednesday, pulled back away from Tomac. Like, I was shocked to see it because I figured AC would start fading and Tomac would start charging, but it turned into the exact opposite. And Tomac eventually started fading back to Craig. He was probably going to be able to hold off Christian Craig, but then they almost got together with a lap rider late, and then Craig got around him, and then Craig eventually almost caught and passed AC as well. So Christian rode a great race. Like, you can't take anything away from him. But, yeah, Eli just not his night, not really his day either. He wasn't particularly fast all day long, and now he just has to bite the bullet and try to regroup from this one. But losing the championship lead this late is kind of rare, so I feel like we have to soak this up as Supercross fans, that we're in for a pretty interesting title fight at this point in time. Cooper Webb is no slouch, especially once he gets the championship lead. He tends to keep it. But so does Eli Tomac. Usually when Tomac has the championship lead moving into the second half of the season, he keeps it. So to lose it at the halfway point is kind of weird. He's had a much better start to his 2023 season than he has any other year to start his career, but now he's at the halfway point and doesn't have the championship lead. Very, very weird the way that this is all shaping up and the dynamic of this. And I haven't talked about Chase Sexton yet. We'll get there, but I feel like for Tomac, I don't want to say Detroit is a must win, but I would say Detroit is a must at least beat Cooper Webb to just kind of stop that train from rolling, because once you give Webb some momentum and he starts realizing, oh, I have the championship lead, oh, I have race-winning speed, oh, I this, oh, I that, it's pretty hard to slow it down. Webb is really good about carrying momentum from week to week to week to week, and as you've seen after he started winning this year, got his first win out of the way, a couple weeks after that, got another win. It's He's been on the podium consistently. I think he's gone 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 the last 5 weeks. And arguably you could say if he just figured out the whoops a little bit sooner at Indianapolis, he probably could have won that main event as well, but then he almost crashed in them late, so he was really struggling with them. But even that, he was pretty close. So I think Tomac needs to probably stop the bleeding with Cooper Webb. And I haven't brought up Chase Sexton yet because, as you know, if you watch the race, Chase Sexton was catching Ken Roczen for the lead, I think on like the 5th or 6th lap of the race. Dragged foot pegs going up onto the on-off that I just went over in before the Supercross triple here. And went over the bars. And amazingly, he's only 13 points down the championship, but I'm starting to get to the point where it's like, unless Chase Sexton wins Detroit, I don't know that I can really continue to factor him in this title fight because, for one, Tomac and Webb are that good. They're going to be in the mix for this title fight, no question about it. But you can't, if you're Sexton, continue to keep giving up these points and expecting it to somehow come back to your favor. He only has 1 win this season. Ken Roczen and Chase Sexton have the exact same amount of wins this year. Somehow Chase is only 13 points down, but he's just been tossing away too many of these opportunities. And this time, he almost got hurt. We talked to Lars Lindstrom at Honda HRC after the race, and he said that he's fine, a little banged up. His foot got kind of dinged when he landed on the face of that step up as he went over the bars. So not broken, just bruised more or less. But how many times is this going to happen? It just keeps happening over and over and over again. And this time, to me, was the most obvious bike-related incident because several people have said his setup is too soft. He's running too soft of a suspension to race Supercross. And, some of his mistakes have come from going down in the whoops, and you could say that the soft suspension maybe contributed to that. But he's losing the front end a lot in the corners because he's pushing the envelope of the bike because he keeps running a soft suspension so that he can push the front end down into these ruts and make these corners a little bit quicker. This weekend, he dragged foot pegs in a spot that nobody else was doing it because he laid into the corner so hard the suspension G'd out, and then he dragged foot pegs going up the face of the step-on and went over the bars. To me, that just suggests you gotta stiffen the forks up. I know it's going to be uncomfortable and you won't be happy and probably struggle in your corners a little bit more, but maybe that's the solution. He's crashed in a lot of turns this year, and if he continues to crash in corners, it's probably something a little bit at least to do with bike setup. I know some people have said, it's just freak incidents and he just had this and that or whatever, but to me, this is more bike setup related than anything. He hit the corner as perfect as you can hit it. He just dragged foot pegs. So if I were at Honda, I would just, at the very least, suggest stiffening up the forks a little bit. Maybe not running as soft of a rear shock as well, but I'm not in that position. I just, from an outsider's perspective, have seen too many instances where he's pushing the front tire in these corners, trusting the front end, and then it just gives out, and he goes down. And now this instance, he just G'd out and went over the bars. So I don't know. Suspension-wise, it seems like there's something going on there that he should probably consider looking at least a different option, in my opinion. But yeah, like I said, I think for him, you would have to say that at the very least, you got to win something soon to stay in this title fight. Webb and Tomac have just been inching points away from him slowly but surely over the last few weeks, and it's all because of these mistakes. And I feel bad for Chase because he's so good and he's so talented, but it's just I don't know. When he was catching Kenny, I was kind of thinking, maybe this is it. Maybe this is finally the time it's not going to happen or something like that. But I also kind of just in my mind while I'm watching it happen was this doesn't feel like a Chase Sexton win right here. For whatever reason, I don't know why. I don't know what it is. But I just see something happening, and then 2 laps later, he's over the bars. And it's just come on. Something different for once, but it just keeps happening, and I feel bad for him. Like I said, I've said this on the last couple of videos, but gotta stop crashing. Yeah, so, wow. Webb championship lead. Roczen wins the Indianapolis Supercross. Catch the fever, folks. Monster Energy AMA Supercross is hot in the streets right now because this is unbelievable. NASCAR drivers are out there tweeting about Ken Roczen getting a win. Our title fight is as close as it's ever been, quite literally, through 9 rounds of a championship. Crazy. This is awesome. I can't wait for Detroit next week. I'm not going to Detroit, but I cannot wait to watch it because it's just providing the goods every single week. Watching these races, it's so good. Not providing the goods, I will say, was the 250 class. Talk a little bit about that. Just not a lot going on in that main event. Hunter Lawrence whole shot. The Star guys got around Chris Blows. Thrasher got into second on like the third or fourth lap. And then, Jordan Smith moved into third. Hayden Deegan was running fourth. They just all kind of slowly separated from each other. Hunter was going a few tenths faster than Thrasher, who was going a few tenths faster than Smith. And they were all kind of going a little bit faster than Hayden Deegan before Deegan crashed. But Deegan had already gotten passed by Jeremy Martin. So Martin had moved up to fourth. And Martin was riding well, but he told me after the race that he felt, again, that it's just like, if I could have gotten a start, maybe I stick with those guys, but I just can't seem to find a start lately, and that's been killing him this year, so he's got to figure out starts, and I don't know, maybe that's something he goes back and works extra hard on this week or what have you, but these guys always say, oh, we always practice starts, and then they struggle with them on the weekends or whatever. So J-Mart was probably the only other guy that could have mixed in with those front three, but didn't have the start, and then the front three just slowly gapped each other, and there wasn't any really fireworks or chaos or really anything. They all weaved through lap traffic pretty well. I think Hunter got kind of held up at a couple points, but it wasn't anything overly dramatic or anything along those lines. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty status quo. Pretty typical 250 main event. Nothing really crazy about it. Hunter now has a 22-point lead in the championship because Max Anstey got fifth in the main event, so it was the second time missing the podium this year. And Hunter's just kind of starting to put it in cruise control. However, I did ask him after the race, we're at the halfway point of this series. You got a 22-point lead. Does the mindset change at all? And he says, nope. I want to win every one of these. So there you have it, folks. He didn't win the Arlington Triple Crown, but Hunter Lawrence wants to go 9 for 10 this year in Monster Energy AMA Supercross in 250 East. And look, I mean, does he have the talent to do it? Yes. Will things happen that prevent him from winning out from here? Yeah, absolutely. I don't think he's the only rider that's going to win down the stretch of this championship. But for him, I think he's like at the point now where winning these races has got him to the point where he has a big championship lead. So why change it up? Why would you start thinking championship mode and manage it or anything like that? Just keep doing what you're doing. And so far it's worked, and it's probably going to continue to work for a little while unless he goes down by pushing it too hard, and then we'll all say, like, oh, he should have managed the championship. But I think he's fine. I don't think he needs to worry about it too much. But yeah, so that's kind of my synopsis from Indianapolis. We'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on it all, what you think of Kenny winning again, what you think of Hunter Lawrence wanting to win out the rest of the season, Eli Tomac's weird race, Cooper Webb having the championship lead, Justin Barcia arguably having the speed to win a race, so he could be another winner this year if things start rolling his way. Yeah, this is unbelievable, this championship and everything that's going on with it. So I'm loving it. I hope you guys are too, because we should strap in for these last 8 rounds of this series and hope it remains as good as it's been, because we have been treated to one heck of a championship season this year thus far, and I hope we get more of it. So that's my synopsis from Indianapolis, playing 2023 Indy SX custom track I built on the PC. I might do this for PlayStation as well, if you guys want to see that. I might also start recording these on PlayStation as well, if you guys want to see that as well. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. As always, appreciate you guys stopping by and watching another video here on the channel. I'm Kellen, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So long for now.